Hello everybody, and thank you for watching this video. This week we'll be talking about career planning and how, as yourself or as an HR practitioner, we can help plan out careers or our own development, and we do just that with our career development plan assignment. Some of our learning objectives are: we're going to assess how to be proactive in building one's own career. We're going to be able to understand what's part of a successful career plan, and also recognize why career planning is necessary for any professional. We're going to examine the employer's role in career development. We're going to acknowledge goal setting as a part of successful career planning and development. And we're also going to analyze networking as a key component to a successful career plan. Great careers don't happen by accident. Truly satisfying careers are the reward of talent, hard work, a bit of luck, and strategy carefully managed and put to work. 5 reasons why we have career plans or career development plans is because it will help you from getting stuck in a rut. It will also help you take responsibility for your weaknesses. It will help you define your future career path. It will help you take charge of your own advancement. It will also give you the confidence you need to succeed. It'll also show you where you have some gaps in your skill sets in which you need to satisfy in order to succeed. Yes, that's right. You should have your own career development plan, but whomever you work for should also be a part of it. For development to be successful, management or your bosses should provide a well-crafted job description. It's the foundation upon which employee training and development activities are built. You should also be providing training required by employees. That way you can meet the basic competencies for your job. They're also responsible for developing an understanding of knowledge, skill sets, abilities that the organization will need in the future, and also what are the long-term goals of the organization and what are the implications of those goals for employees. They also have the responsibility to explain the employee development process and encourage staff to develop an individual development plan, so that's where you become involved. They should also be supporting staff when they identify learning activities that make them an asset to your organization, both now and in the future. Some discussions you should be having with your employer typically include some of the following. Do you have the skills required to meet certain responsibilities of the current job? Are there any gaps? So are there maybe some skills that you don't have or are not strengthened enough to meet the competencies of your current job? And they should be helping you to develop those skills. They should understand what your future aspirations are, so where you see yourself in 5 or 10 years, and what business and personal results you hope to achieve. They should be helping you with a career plan, which is developing a roadmap that enables an employee to acquire the skill sets needed for the current job, but also for that of future jobs. They use the career plan template as a part of performance review. The template should include some of the following areas: areas of development, developmental goals, action steps, expected completion dates, obstacles and solutions, and evaluation criteria. For employee development to be successful, the individual employee needs to do some of the following. Look for opportunities to learn, and that's not just in your free time, that's every day. You should also be identifying some goals or activities for development and prepare your own individual development plan. Career planning. So for career planning to be successful, it needs to be considered from the perspective of 2 different parties. As the previous slide had probably shown, these 2 perspectives are that of the employee and the organization and management.
The reason why both need to be considered when taking on career planning is, one, the organization needs to understand what skills are required for current purposes from their staff, but also from the future to achieve their business goals. Right. So if we find that skills are lacking for the future, or we need to develop our staff in one particular area, we obviously need to begin to develop those skills of our staff to be successful in the future and achieve our organizational goals. On the other hand, we need to consider career planning from the employee perspective as well, because one, as just kind of a metaphor, not doing anything creates stale water. Stale water breeds bacteria, which is not a good thing, right? Sitting water is never a good thing. So we need to be continuously challenging our employees to develop new skills, but also from the employee's perspective is, they want to develop skills for the future, right? They don't want to stay in the same job. They want to develop their skills so they can take on more challenging roles in the future. Okay, one good example of this is my experience with the college. So when I was before I was hired on full time, I wanted to do my doctoral degree. While I spoke to, my boss about this, and we agreed that this was, a good step for both the college and for myself, being in academia. So when I got hired on full time, not only is the college, helping, they're engaged in helping me develop in this area because they need it, but also because I want it as well. To that end, achieving both of our goals, they're helping me pay for the doctoral degree, and they're also swifting me for it, which means that they're providing me time in my work week to work on my doctoral studies. So that's a great example of career planning. Another one that I can think of from industry is when I sat down with there was a cook that I had, and I I understood that this cook had a lot of leadership potential, but needed to be developed in several areas in order to be able to lead and manage in the kitchen within a senior sous role. Um, the employee also wanted to develop those management and leadership skills so that staff member could grow in the future and take on more challenging roles, if not within my restaurant, within another, right? So it was career planning with that particular staff member. It was in both of our best interests, and to the end of achieving both of our goals, that we continue to train and develop this particular staff member. Um, yeah, so again, career planning should be taken from the perspective of both the employee and the organization, hopefully finding some crossover between our two goals, and helping that particular staff member plan their career.
So why do we need a career plan? Like I said before, it'll help you get from getting stuck in a rut. It will help you think about how to use your strengths in different ways. It'll help you take responsibility for your weaknesses. It'll help plan your future career path. It'll help you take charge of your own advancement, and it will give you the confidence you need to succeed. It will also allow you to kind of blossom out of the role that you're currently in. If you allow yourself to grow comfortable performing only the tasks you are trained to do and that you are hired for, then you might as well make up your mind to be overworked and underpaid for the rest of your working life. So that's why we have a career plan. Um, there are lots of people that get stuck in ruts. The one thing they all have in common is that they've taken their professional development for granted. Don't be one of those people. Whether or not we'd like to admit it, everyone around us knows exactly how well or how poorly we're doing at work. All the little shortcomings we've minimalized in our own minds are well known to our colleagues. Maybe you're slightly late to work 2 or more times a week, or you don't stay up to date with important techniques or skills needed. Sure, you can get away with it now, but you're not fooling anyone. No matter how sweet or how well liked you are, not addressing those little quirks or weaknesses, um, maybe you may be committing what we call career suicide later on. Management might change. The company could start cracking down on inefficiency without notice. Your minor shortcomings could suddenly be looked at as major areas of underperformance. You're probably getting a little bit defensive and thinking, there are things I can improve on, but I'm not a slacker. If you're not consistently identifying areas of improvement and working on getting better and better at what you do, then sooner or later you may lose. Socrates, a philosopher, once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." I say that an unplanned career is not worth having. It kind of makes sense. In the book, The Go-Giver, Bob Burger presents 3 universal reasons why we work. A, to survive. B, to save. C, to serve. Survival and saving have to do with meeting our basic needs and having some time and money left over to enjoy life. Service has to do with making some sort of meaningful contribution to the world around us. Most people get stuck in the first 2 stages, but never figure out a way to reach a place of purpose for their work. When we don't develop the habit of establishing and achieving our clear goals, we miss out on the opportunity to steer our careers along a path of significance, or one that we've designed. Would you like to wake up one day and realize that you've plodded through your days in a job that you hated instead of making a difference? Of course you don't. Crafting a career development plan will give you the opportunity to gradually assess not only the tasks you do well, but also identify the things that bring joy and meaning to your work. Carving out the time and drumming up the discipline it takes to craft a career development plan for yourself will force us to be accountable instead of blaming external forces for every negative turn that occurs at work. We begin then to take responsibility for our own actions and reactions. This is called being proactive. Creating a career development plan will put the power back in your own hands. Instead of excusing yourself for being late because of traffic, you'll be able to recognize that you have stayed up too late flipping through channels on TV and neglected to pick up your clothing, or you neglected to pick up your clothes or organize your kids for the day ahead. Instead of being passed over for a promotion because you didn't have the required skills, you get the computer training you need the computer training you need in the late afternoon to position yourself for the promotion that you want. Again, being proactive. A career development plan will give you ownership over all aspects of your career. You will begin to know your strengths and weaknesses inside out. You will decide on meaningful targets and set realistic plans to meet them. You will know what you want to accomplish and how far you've already come. You will find yourself going to work each day with a sense of purpose because of that goal. When performance review time rolls around, you will no longer have to struggle to list your strengths or outline your achievements. You will be able to confidently prepare the assessment and promotion meetings. You will be able to update your resume with ease and not choke up at the thought of getting an interview. You'd also be able to answer those questions a lot easier in the interview, which I find is a common, I don't know what you would call, stumbling block for most applicants. And yeah, so that's why we all need a career development plan. Generally speaking, there are 2 types of employee development plans. The first is professional growth. Such employee development plans are created to help individuals in their careers. In such a plan, a team manager sits with his team members and designs growth plans with specific deadlines as to when the development goals should and will be accomplished. It is essential to give deadlines to employees for them to take training and employee development activities seriously. Employees are encouraged to attend training sessions, seminars, conferences to acquire the new skills and knowledge they're going to need before the deadline. The other kind of plan is called improvement. Managers design a performance improvement plan, also called a PIP or PIP, and create an action plan to help employees improve their performance. Employees are trained not only for their professional development, but also for their personal growth. Initiatives are taken to improve behavioral skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills, which would help them more in the long run.
The employee development plan. So, as you can imagine, much like career planning, the employee development plan is prepared by both management and the employee. So that we can enhance the skills of the employee to help that person grow professionally and personally, but also to the benefit of the organization. Through an individual development plan, we outline key areas of responsibility for an employee, any specializations, and an area of interest. Through this development plan, we create current and future goals for the employee to help them achieve their goals through that plan. One example of this was some of my training, right? So when I started with the college, I wanted to learn more about teaching. And as I, that was a part of my development plan that I worked on with my boss, right? Not necessarily because I call myself a bad teacher, but there's a science to teaching, and I was interested in that science. So, it was to both of our benefits, and I had a future goal of, knowing more about teaching and wanting to get back into the science of teaching, and that we made that training a priority through my development plan. And I was able to complete my training, and now I know a lot more about teaching, or the pedagogy of education, if you will. And yeah, that wouldn't have been possible if me and my boss didn't sit down and create an employee development plan. Another example of that, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you can tell when an employee is not engaged in their work. They come in, they do their shift, they're not engaging with other people. You can always tell they're not having a good time. If you're seeing that's a good indication that that particular employee is not being challenged enough, right? And people do enjoy challenging work, or differing responsibilities on a day-to-day basis. That's why you're not coming in doing the exact same thing over and over again. And that's a good opportunity for you as an HR manager to sit down with that employee and say, hey, let's go over a development plan. Let's make a development plan, right? Where you sit down, you cross over, you find the mutual goals between what you need from the employee from the future, and what they want to achieve as well. And then you make that development plan where you assign goals, increase responsibilities, make sure they know what those are. And then, once I did that with that particular cook, the cook was on pantry. So he made a lot of he did a lot of cold salads. And it just wasn't his thing. Obviously, he wanted to work on the range. He wanted to work on broil. So part of that was training him, having him understand the cleaning responsibilities, having him understand the prep responsibilities, and training him to be able to do that. And as we did that, we had little like markers for achievement and success. Understanding all the recipes, understanding the prep list, understanding the station, and then that employee was able to plan for their achievement, and in the end was able to work on both the range and broil.
We must be proactive when it comes to our career and professional development. Nobody's going to do it for us, we have to start it ourselves. We cannot simply wait around hoping someone will recognize how great we are and give us the job we've always wanted. For instance, us taking charge of this, if you want an example, if you want to develop your leadership skills that can lead to advanced career opportunities, maybe serve as a mentor to other colleagues or help to onboard new colleagues. Offer to lead a team for a new important project that you believe in. Assume a liaison role with human resources on processes for recruitment and selection, and helping fill positions in your area. The opportunities, and I mean that's just one example. Whatever you want to develop, there's many different creative ideas that you can use to help yourself develop in those areas. Here's just a career planning tip for you. Be coachable. which means you receive feedback well. I know it can be kind of scary to receive feedback or even to openly or actively look for feedback on yourself. But in terms of career planning or identifying what some of our strengths are and some of our weaknesses are, feedback is absolutely huge. Don't just ask. You can ask your supervisor or your manager, but don't limit it to them. You can ask anybody. It's called 360-degree feedback. You ask everybody in an organization for feedback on your performance. Again, this can be scary because negative feedback or criticism has 2 times the negative effect that positive feedback does. So it usually makes us feel a lot worse than positive feedback, and that's why we're kind of scared of it. But it's really important to identify, what some stumbling blocks are. Maybe you had a weakness you didn't know you had. Sometimes because we live in our own bodies and we are our own person, we're kind of oblivious to some things or some weaknesses that we have, and other people are able to perceive those and pick up on them a lot better than we are. It sounds really bad, but a lot of the times in our industry, perception is reality. If you think you're a good leader, then that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. However, if your 50 staff members think that you're a terrible leader, which viewpoint is more correct, yours or theirs? I mean, obviously the situation depends, but for the most part, you might get some feedback from them and try and develop how to be a better leader.
The pursuit of continuous learning. It's up to you to actively pursue your own learning, okay? Professional development and your own career development. As we've mentioned multiple times now, this idea of career development, professional development, continuous learning, these things are all it's a two-way street between you and management, right? So management, there's obviously something in it for management. They want to help you develop and you to learn and you to train to help them succeed in the future. You know what I mean? But you also have to be involved as well, equally as much as your management team, right? So if you don't really know what you're interested in or how you should be developing or what areas you want to specialize in or things like that, there's a list of a couple questions here that might help you focus your learning goals. Specifically around continuous learning. One is, what am I curious about right now? You know what I mean? Is there something you don't know and you want to know? I think that's a that's a lot of inspiration for people doing master's degrees and doctoral degrees. Is we just have an overwhelming curiosity for something that we need to know about, right? What do I need to learn to keep up with the changes in my field? You know what I mean? Gone are the days where the external environment facing an organization is relatively constant. Competition's always changing, trends are always changing. You know what I mean? And you have to ask yourself, how am I going to keep up with those changes so that I can continue within the industry and be productive? What strengths would I like to capitalize on? Okay, so obviously we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses or opportunities. What are your strengths? You know what I mean? And can you strengthen them anymore? Do you want to learn more about them? Or you know what I mean? If you know what you're good at, then maybe that's a good indication of what you could improve on, right? Which is the next question. What do I want to get better at? I hear a lot of students in the program saying, I want to work on my knife skills. Okay, well, that's a good goal. That's a point of continuous learning. Or I want to work on my souffles, or I want to work on honing. I things like that, right? So what do you want to get better at, right? For me, one of my challenges within industry was around service recovery. So basically going to the table and apologizing and stuff like that. Or well, I personally didn't think that was a point of continuous learning for me, but my supervisor did, which obviously means that I needed to improve on it, right? So as I engaged in the learning, I became more curious, and I realized that hey, I do need to get better at this. Furthermore, everybody needs to get better at this because we're all doing a terrible job, and that's really the topic of my dissertation: is better service recovery outcomes. And then lastly, and this is kind of an important one because it'll almost dictate a lot of what your development is going to be or your points of continuous learning is what are my career goals for the next 3 to 5 years, right? You want to be a sous chef? Do you want to be the head chef or executive chef? If these are your goals, then there's points of learning to achieve those goals, right? For example, a lot of students say, "Hey, I want to be an executive chef within 4 years of graduating from George Brown College." Perfect. That's a great goal. That's totally attainable. There's some steps you got to take to get there, right? And we're going to talk about SMART goals. But there's points of learning that you also have to do as well. I mean, within George Brown, I mean, you're getting quite a bit of management uh, um, learning, but there's probably a little bit more you could do, right? For example, finance or accounting. Some of you may have been exposed to accounting and finance in high school or other learning institutions. But based on this program, you don't get. I mean, you have cost controls. I'm not sure what other courses you have, but I'm pretty sure you don't take accounting, and that's a lot of what I see when students are doing their career planning and development assignment. Is, hey, I want to be an executive chef. I need to work on my management skills. I need to learn more about management, and my biggest opportunity within the area of management is probably accounting, right? So you set a goal, okay? So you got the goal. You know what the end looks like, and you've got some steps to get there, right? One is learn more about accounting, okay? And that's just an example. I'm not saying that for you or for anybody in the class. I'm just that's one of the examples I've seen in the past. So it's just a set of 5 questions that'll help you understand your points of continuous learning.
There's an interesting quote here. Goal setting equals success. And the quote being, people with goals succeed because they know where they're going. So what I want you to do right now, so if you're sitting and you're at your computer or watching this, now, assuming that you have to move in some sort of motion, look at across the room, okay, and picture a spot on the wall or somewhere. Just focus on a spot across from you. Let's say that very specific spot on the wall or your desk or your bed or whatever it is, let's say that's your goal. That direction that you can see towards your goal, that's the path to achieving your goal. And that's why a lot of people who have goals succeed in achieving them, is because they can see the path. If you don't have a goal, there is no path. It's just motion without purpose. It turns, what it boils down to is going into work at a dead end job every single day, not really caring what you do, and yeah. So always have a goal. So having a goal without a plan is just a wish. Like we said in the previous slide, having a goal is the first step. And from that first step, you kind of can see that goal in the distance. So you can identify at a very vague level, the direction or the path that you need to go. Now, we need to, at that step, develop a plan to actually journey down that road.
The purpose of goal setting. So, as you may have realized right now, goal setting is exceptionally important for a couple reasons. One is it drives you forward, right? If you've got a goal, then you got something, think about in your head. Look down a hallway or look down across the room and put a flag in your mind at the end of at the end of the room or the other side of the room or down the hall, right? If you know what the goal is, you can walk towards something, right? Like for instance, you can walk towards that flag on the other side of the room or down the hallway. So having a goal drives you forward, okay, and it gives you that focus to keep on the path and not strafe too far from it, right? One of the and I'm sorry, a lot of my examples are coming from my dissertation. They're just really they're really fresh in my mind right now. If I didn't have if having a PhD was not a goal of mine, I wouldn't have the focus to keep going. There's been a lot of ups in my program. There's been huge downs, right? So if I didn't have that goal, I wouldn't been able to wouldn't be able to focus, move forward, and get out of those holes to achieve my goal, right? Having a goal or the purpose of goal also makes you accountable to that goal, right? Like you don't just communicate your goals to yourself. I mean, you do, but you communicate it to other people. Other people are aware of these goals within your career development plan, and it helps you be accountable to those goals. It also encourages you to be the best you can be, or like it puts you as a priority in your life so you can live your best life, right? So you need to set goals. If you don't have goals, you're going to lack focus and direction. It gives you control over your life. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, oh well, this, life's not going that great right now. Like I don't enjoy my job. Like people that don't necessarily enjoy their job, like they've lost focus and control over their life's direction. And one of the ways to get that back is just to have a goal, right? So these are 5 main reasons to have a goal. Drives you forward, gives you focus, makes you accountable to that goal, and it encourages you, puts you in the driver's seat so you can be the best you can be and live the best life you can. To set effective goals, there's a couple of strategies that we can help you do this, and you're going to be using quite a few of these in your career development assignment. One is set goals that motivate you. Okay, you have to want something, and it's okay to want something. It's your right to want something, and set a goal that motivates you, that you want to achieve. Next, set SMART goals, which stands for specific. It's an acronym. So I'm sure you know that by now. You've all taken leadership, I think. Goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Okay, in doing that, if a goal is specific, you know exactly what you want to achieve, right? If it's measurable, you can tell whether you can achieve, whether you have achieved it or not. If it's attainable, you got to make sure it's realistic, right? Like for example, if I were to be like, I'm gonna go my goal is to climb Mount Everest tomorrow. Not gonna happen. I can assure you. This pandemic has gone on too long. I'm put on a few pounds. I will not be climbing anything taller than the stairs up to the upstairs floor in my bed in my condo. So it's not attainable. It's not realistic, right? Your goals have to be relevant. You know what I mean? They have to be relevant for you, for the overall goal you want to achieve, but also to an organization or to the various stakeholders that are engaged with your goals. And lastly, your goals need to be time based, right? So that's you need to have a focus and a drive to achieve these goals, and that time frame helps you understand when this goal is going to be achieved, right? So once you've set your SMART goals, put it down in writing. Okay, make an action plan. These are my goals, and a lot of the SMART templates help you make that action plan, right? Because it's time-based, it's measurable, and it's specific. And then get to work and stick with it, right? Have focus. Remember, these goals should be something that motivate you and that you want to achieve. So these are just 6 strategies to set effective goals, primarily through the use of SMART goals, which again are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based.
I'd like everyone to watch this video. I actually really like this video for a whole lot of reasons, mainly because I'm a big fan of SMART goals, which again stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time frame or time. This helps goals be substantial, well thought out, and articulated, opposed to a plan to make a plan. Like I'm gonna plan to make a plan doesn't help you achieve your goals or make them any easier to achieve. Yeah. So please watch this video.
Another effective portion to or component to effective career planning and career development is developing a network. Okay, so I believe you've gone through career prep at this point. Networking was a topic in that course, and we piggyback on that here because in a lot of cases, it's not what you know, but who you know. Okay, and in a lot of ways that's true. And having that network is a great way to open up opportunities for yourself. Like for example, before I was a teacher, I was a GM in the industry. You know what I mean? So if it wasn't for a connection that I had with the college, that thought, hey, this guy might be good at teaching, or, then I wouldn't have had the opportunity that I did, right? So it was because of my network that I got into teaching, right? Like when I started teaching, I didn't necessarily know anything about teaching, right? I knew quite a bit about accounting and cost controls, but I knew nothing about teaching. And it was it was who I knew that helped me get into teaching. And then, hey, this turned into a full-time job, right? And one that I'm really happy with. So you need to develop a network of friendly people who are going to share information with you, either through referrals or just the passing on of information. In a lot of academic definitions, the access to information immediately, or first within a network, is essentially power. If you control who gets your information and who doesn't, you have power within that network, right? So you have to develop a friendly network, people that respect you and that want to share information with you. Networking is a great strategy for opening up a hidden job market. Okay, a lot of jobs are not advertised because they want to hire internally first, right? So if they're hiring internally, nobody wants the job, but somebody knows that you would be interested in the job and you're in their network, you're going to get that information first, right? That job's not being advertised, so you've got first crack of the whip for this particular opportunity. Networking is also a planned and an ongoing effort, right? It takes time to maintain these relationships, and in networking, time is a resource, right? So you need to be able to kind of cut down your pointless ties or your weak ties, or your redundant ties, so that you can effectively network on an ongoing basis, right? So, for example, if and this actually sounds terrible, but it's the idea of cutting ties that are irrelevant to you, right? One great example I can think of is, as the years have progressed since I've been in high school, I no longer network with those people because they're just not relevant to my goals or my career or anything like that, right? There's no point in me wasting my energy on maintaining a network with those people when a more effective networking strategy would be to connect with people that have a similar goal to me, come from the same industry, and ones people that want to help achieve my goals and work with me. So networking isn't something you do on Monday or Tuesday. It's something that you do throughout your career. Okay. I mean, I got my career started through my network. Same thing with my dad. You know what I mean? My dad, one day he went to work and he was like, nope, not today. He really didn't enjoy going to work. The business was going in a direction. He was in a senior management role. The business was going in a direction he didn't want to go. The boss was making a whole bunch of changes he didn't agree with, and he just said, you know what? It's best you guys go. It's best we go our separate ways because I don't believe in the goals of the organization anymore, and I'm going to go my own way. Once people in the industry and within his network found out that he was, and this is before the time of Facebook and LinkedIn and all that stuff. This is the time of car cell phones. When people in the industry found that he was in the job market, he had a bunch of people reach out to him. One of which was a human resources headhunter, and my dad started working in headhunting, and he made a killing in headhunting. I mean, he's not in headhunting anymore, but he wouldn't have been able to get that job or take that very lucrative opportunity if it wasn't for his network. And back in the day, there was no Facebook, there was no LinkedIn, there was no, you know what I mean? So networking was a lot more difficult back then, and it's a conscious effort, something that he had to do throughout his career, and it benefited him so much. So continuing with networking and career development, a lot of people think that networking can be very, well, I don't, people don't think networking can be uncomfortable. Networking can be uncomfortable sometimes. And a lot of reasons why it's uncomfortable is because you're putting yourself out there. You might it might feel like you're pushing your own message or your own agenda on somebody. You might be introverted, might be a little shy, so this doesn't come naturally. Okay, a strategy to cope with this is that effective networking isn't necessarily what people can do for you. Okay, I mean that is part of it. Don't get me wrong, because networking goes both ways. But I think that you would find it a lot easier to network if you were like, hey, how can I help this person? It's a lot easier to connect with somebody when you're like, hey, I've got a solution to your problem, or hey, I think this would be great for you. Instead of being like, hey, help me, please. Can I have a job? Do you know anybody who's looking for, somebody like me right now? It's it, it will help you reach out to people. It'll help you network a lot easier if it's about what you can do for them, right? Instead of what can they do for you. So if you engage in it that way, you're helping somebody. And a lot of being in our industry is all about helping people. You know what I mean? We're all about service. And when you do that, it helps reinforce that relationship that you're creating through that network, whereby facilitating the win-win exchange of information, referrals, and tips that could be mutually beneficial between you and people in your network. Okay, so evaluating your network. Okay, so you need to be able to maintain your network over the course of your career, and there are three common factors that you need to evaluate. One is the size of your network, the diversity of people in your network, and the strength of your contacts. Okay. Before I go into this, there is a great paper you guys should read. It's called "The Strength of Weak Ties." Okay. Um, you just type in the strength of weak ties in Google Scholar, and there are a bunch of great articles about redundant contacts, the strength of weak ties, and structural holes within networks that will help you really really maintain your network in an effective way. Okay. Um, uh, One of the factors that you're going to evaluate or you want to look at with your network is the size, right? Typically speaking, the bigger the size of your network, the more information and referrals and support you're going to have access to. On the other hand, the bigger the network, okay, the bigger the network, the more time and resources you're going to spend maintaining that network. Okay. um, Smaller the network that you have, the less information, right? You also need to consider the diversity of your network. Okay, so this is where we bring up the idea of redundant contacts, right? My example before was high school peoples. I don't talk to anymore because they're redundant contacts, right? Um, if you are spending a lot of effort, so say you've got a really big network, okay, composed of primarily people within your own organization, right? You want to have a diverse network, so you want to make sure that obviously if majority of your network is within one organization, you're going to have some redundant contacts, right? You're going to have some contacts that you really don't need to maintain with people because you maintain it with one or two other contacts, right? It's a matter of you and person A and person B knowing each other in a triangle. Well, that's two relationships you need to maintain. If you cut out one of those contacts, you still know person C through person B. Okay, so um, if you're experiencing a lot of redundant contacts, you want to increase the diversity of your network by going outside of your organization and creating a more diverse network with people from different organizations, but within the same profession, right? That way, the the size of your network stays the same, but the quality of the information is different, right? If you're maintaining a relationship, so you're person A and you're maintaining a relationship with person B and C within the same organization, it's redundant because you have you're going to get the same information from both person B and C, right? It's the same information, but if you have a network where you maintain a network with person B in your organization and person A in another organization, then you've got two different kinds of informations for the same amount of resources and time. So it's better information. And then lastly, the strength of your contacts, right? You do have to um, maintain a relationship with these people, okay, and increase relationship quality, okay, of these relationships. A lot of this is done through just trust and commitment, right? So, for example, One way you to decide how strong a contact is, or a person within your network, is how soon are they going to call or email you, if you ask them to, or if they have a piece of information for you. The stronger the tie, the more the more that's going to go well for you. Okay, because they're committed and they trust you, right? But also, I mean, you have to reciprocate that as well, because there is commitment and trust on your part, right? So if your contact, one of your contacts within your network, say you've got an important piece of information and you don't pass that on to somebody within your network who would want it, it's going to break the trust and the commitment and weaken your network. So you have to be able to reciprocate among people in your network.
I'd also like everyone to read this article. It pertains to how to build a personal career plan. But I can also briefly summarize some of the points. Step one: write down your primary career interest. It's a good idea to list your primary career interest in general terms. For instance, my primary career interest is marketing within the automobile industry. Like, don't get too granular with it. Step number two: identify long-term growth goals, including positions. You can get specific now, desired within a specific company. Long-term goals are often conveyed in terms of specific positions. So to become a regional sales manager, or even major accomplishments, say like let's write a book. So for instance, if you're a sous chef in industry right now, one of your longer term goals might be to become a chef, so to level up from yours. You would also list any lateral movements or promotions that would help you meet your long-term professional goals. For instance, or as an example, I want to move from a sales associate to a sales manager and finally get to be a regional sales manager, kind of things like that. Step three: identify short-term goals that contribute to long-term interests and the challenges that you must overcome in order to reach those goals. You also want to identify any barriers, both personal and external, that prevent you from accomplishing your short-term goals. Then create ways to overcome them. For example, my short-term goal is to acquire advanced computer skills. The barrier is the time constraints on my job in mechanical engineering, which leave me with little to no time to receive additional training that I need. That way, I would overcome this barrier and find more efficient ways to complete my tasks or to delegate them to others while I attend the August training sessions. Step number 4 in building a personal career plan is list 2 to 3 activities that will help you reach each goal that you have. Be sure to specify how you will accomplish this activity, including any resources you might need, and when you will start and finish it. Resources may include other people's time or expertise, as well as maybe funding for materials or activities, or even time away from your other responsibilities. Some ways you can do that, or some common development activities. One, you can develop a relationship with a mentor or a role model. You can read relevant material or watch videos, things like that. Engage in training and education, kind of what we're doing right now. Keep a journal. I keep a journal. Attend appropriate seminars. Take on special job assignments or job rotation. That's big in terms of leadership development. Receive coaching from a skilled coworker. So some of that 360 feedback. Or you could increase customer contact, or incorporate activities into ongoing working assignments or work assignments. To our next step, step 5, you would then describe tasks in your current job that are contributing to your long-term goals and that you would like to emphasize or perform more frequently. Step 6, describe the tasks in your current job that are not contributing to your long-term goals. Suggest ways to minimize, remove, or delegate them to others. Step number 7, write down any additional skills, knowledge, or experiences you would like to acquire that may directly or indirectly help you in your current job and future job. Step number 8, describe when and how progress checkpoints will occur. And what development activities will be completed or discussed at different times. So give yourself a bit of a time frame. Part 2 for the plan, that was part 1, this would be part 2, which is the manager review. You should be asking questions to your manager with respect to your career plan. Things like, are you aware of your employees' career interests and values? Do you know which employees of your strengths contribute to these career goals? Do you feel that short-term goals of your employees have suggested, the short-term goals that your employee has suggested are realistic, given the employee's abilities or external factors? And is there anything standing in the way of the desired goals? Do you know of other activities that would help the employer reach developmental goals? So this is the employer side of it, not the personal side. And what has helped them in the past in this area? Are there people who could help the employee meet their developmental goals? Can you, as the Human Resources Department, provide the resources that were identified? Can you make changes to the employee's job to replace routine tasks with new work that is closely aligned with the employee's goals or future goals, or future roles, I should say? Have you and the employee agreed on dates or progress for the checkpoints? Just like you did in your personal plan, as a human resources manager, you would do the same thing. Again, build in the time frame. This is all very follows a similar format as the SMART goals, kind of. In conclusion, here are some general tips for completing a career development plan. Honestly, assess your strengths and weaknesses, and use your performance feedback from various sources, or as many as you can. Really evaluate your interests and your passions. Identify what they are. Which ones do you have right now, maybe that you won't have later, or that you're losing interest in. Set SMART goals for your life and your career. Both are kind of intertwined, so do both. Work with your employer to build a plan. Network to build important relationships that will help you on your career path. Be proactive. Again, this is all you. This is all for you. You should definitely be wanting this to happen because it's your work life. It's going to be your career. It's important that you be proactive about it. And lastly, just be prepared. What the quote here we have is, most people wait until they get called for a job interview before they begin to prepare. But those who succeed prepare well before the call. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and we'll talk next week.